My name is Sarah. My mother was a Sarah too, and my grandmother and great-grandmother before. She was the first Sarah, my great-grandmother, and from what they tell me, we all looked much like each other. One day, and it was a long time ago now, my great-grandmother and me only a child and she walking with a stick, walked together here along this very path. And suddenly she stopped. You were named after me, she said, and I was named after a lifeboat. I remember even now how puzzled I was. A lifeboat. I'd heard of boats being called after people, but never people after boats. But now, I know why. It was the night of the great storm, at the turn of the century, in a January, on a Friday. Waves climbed the rocks as if they were trying to escape from the sea. The wind came howling and driving from the west, and that's the worst for us. Nothing to stop it between here and America, the old men still say. It was that night that the first Sarah was to be born.
Looks like we're in for a right night tonight, eh?
Yeah.
Are you all right, Mia?
Good as I shall be, I expect.
When do you reckon, missus?
Soon, maybe. Perhaps not till tomorrow, though, my handsome.
How about a nice cup of tea?
Don't mind if I do.
The storm had kept most people in their homes that night. But Jack Williams was walking on the cliffs. He was a fisherman by trade and the lifeboat coxswain by inclination, or by volunteerment, as they used to say, the sort of man with strength about him. To him, the sea was his living, and it was to be respected at all times.
Bloody hell.
Danger was never far away.
Oh, he's a good lad, our Ted.
You reckon so?
He
Oh,
looks
Ted there.
stupid, but he's a good
Oh,
lad.
Ted's all right, I suppose, really. I don't know. See, I had one of my chaps from up London. He bought a new hat.
Hat?
Handsome, had to get Pete here, see. And he...
Get the men. There's a boat in trouble about a mile off the point. Joshua, Simon, you get the rest of the crew. Charlie, you better come with me. It's pretty rough out there, I can tell you. In with you, Jack. Come on, let's go. Quick as you can.
George! The ship in trouble! Come on, we need a lifeboat!
Nowadays, when there's trouble at sea, all they do is pick up a phone or there's a siren or something. But not then. Not in those days.
Hurry! Come on! The ship in trouble! We need you boys! Come on, how'd you come? Don't be long! Be back, I promise. My business.
That night, as so many times before, the lifeboat crew gathered on the beach around the Sarah.
What do you think? No way, Jack.
We've got to do something. Can't just leave them there, can we?
Don't see how. Can't be done.
What are you doing here, lad? What about your missus?
She all right, man.
All right.
By now, the wind had shifted a point or two to the north, The gale was blowing harder now, directly across the mouth of the bay. Even to try a launch, they knew would be suicide.
This is what we're going to do. Here's we. Here's the wind. Here's the ship. That's the old track across the moor. And here is Porlock. Little old Porlock round the corner, right the wind. And that's where we're going to go. We'll launch from Porlock.
The whole idea was quite mad. You couldn't launch from our beach, that was for sure, and it was true too that Porlock would be sheltered. But between here and there were the high moors that sheltered it, and there was the coxswain calmly proposing, "We'll launch from Porlock."
Right, I want as many horses as you can muster and as many men. Okay? Go on, quick as you can. All right. Oh, boy.
That boat was 25 foot long, and it weighed nearly 2 tons. And it took more than 20 men to lift it just clear of the ground. But somehow or other, it was going to have to be heaved up rock-strewn slopes to a height of 1,300 feet, and then across well-nigh 15 miles of uninhabited, wild moorland. That night, the men of my village, the first Sarah's father among them, were to set out with the lifeboat Sarah on a cart. God willing, the distressed vessel would still be afloat. There'd be no more flares, and no one voiced their innermost thoughts that all this effort might yet be in vain.
Let's go! Get up! Hey! On you! Good! Oh, lads! All the way!
There was no man who didn't help that night. Getting the boat up the narrow streets and around the corners was difficult. But they all knew that this would be the easy part. The first part of the hill went well. But then, the cart got bogged down in soft ground. Try as they might, the combined strength of horse and man couldn't move it.
Tighten the chain! Keep that mare going, tighten the chain! Go in a bit! Push her up! Get up! Come on, boys! Hey! Keep her up!
In the end, there was no alternative. The lead horses were uncoupled, and slowly, painfully, the procession was back down.
We're going to take her back, Quiley, now.
A difficult manoeuvre at the best of times, but made doubly so by such conditions.
Keep the chalk about his foot behind the wheel all the time, but mind his hands. All right, you ready to go down, Quiley? Mind the horses, don't sit there. Back, Quiley. Take them back easy.
Just lead the horses take it a bit more. Just lead the horses take it a bit more.
Easy. Easy now. Let it come.
It was lashing with rain, and the cart itself, although strong, had never been built for such a journey.
Back. Back.
Back you go. Easy, lads, easy.
When they reached level ground again, they found one of the cart wheels was cracking under the strain. It had to be changed for one of the forward wheels that was taking less of the weight.
Slide them on. Right. Aye.
They want to take the print out, mine.
Ready? Hey!
Ready, fellas? 2-6!
Hey! Hey! Keep it down! Hold it! Keep it up there! Go! Come on!
Hold, lad!
Whilst the wheel was being changed, the coxswain had found another route with firmer ground, longer but less steep than the first. But with one wheel slightly damaged already, the risk of hitting rocks and boulders had to be reduced to a minimum. Men were sent ahead to clear a way.
Clear them away, throw them out the side.
Steady, whoa, easy.
Come up the top, yeah, up the top.
Now we gotta have it together here. Steady, whoa, easy. Oh,
That climb was bad, but the moor was worse. They were nearly halfway across when the rim of the damaged cartwheel began to crumble.
That's it. It's not like we're going any further on that wheel. We'll have to take the boat off. Come on, lads. Put your shoulders to it now. 2-6! Lift!
The men already ached from top to toe, and although the worst of the wind and rain had died away, the bitter cold struck deep into their bodies, despite their labours. And I remember the first Sarah telling me how they became quieter, almost silent as their spirits faded.
Hey! And again, 2-6! Lift! Lift! Put your fingers. Take the weight, take the weight.
bit more.
It's the horse.
A bit more.
Pull out. Hold that. 2-6. 2-6. 2-6. Push
Without the cart, they all knew their chances of reaching Polveen, let alone reaching it in time, were very small indeed.
Well, that's it then, Jack, innit?
We ain't giving up now. We don't do it, nobody will. When we start halfway there, we'll have to find another cart. We'll send a couple of lads back to Moorland's farm. Maybe he's got something that'll work. George, Jim, go back to Moorland's farm, see if he's got something that'll work for us. Go on.
Hurry it up now. Come on, boys.
Back in the village, there was better news.
Moorland, it's a child.
Tom had become a father.
It's a maid!
Mother and daughter were doing well.
Ooh! Lizzie is a child!
And good news travels fast.
I thought you like now. You got a girl.
You got a girl?
I got a girl.
Tom's got a girl.
Hey, boys!
Tom's got a girl.
Hey,
One more,
got a
Tom.
baby girl! Well done, Tom.
Tom's got a girl. So you got a daughter then?
Only a little girl, yeah. Oh, lovely. And she will be lovely, providing she is as handsome as her father.
Yeah, that. What are you going to call her?
Unless, of course, I call her after the boat and call her Sarah now.
That's as good as name as any. Right, boys. A cheer for Tom and daughter Sarah. Hip it! Right, come on. We're not going to waste any more time. We won't wait for the cart. Let's pull her by hand. 2 6. Hey! 2 6.
Filled with renewed spirit, the men set to work with a will.
Say, way all the way, when Tom's at sea, his missus now will never feel so lonely. Away, all the way, we'll all away, Joe. Away, all the way, we'll all away together. Away, all the way, we'll all away, Joe. We'll launch the boat from Polveen Beach, so Jack the lad he tells me. Away, all the way, we'll all away, Joe. So all the way, me merry lads, no matter if it kills thee. Away, all the way, we'll all away, Joe. Away, all the way, we'll steer for better weather. Away, all the way, we'll all away, Joe.
We'll never get her through there.
We'll lift her over in. Yeah.
No, we'll have to scat the hedge. Come on, lads, lend a hand.
I don't think anyone would have believed that a stone wall that had stood there as long as that one had could have been moved aside in such a short time.
Come on then. Go on now. Tonight. Come on, boys.
Right, that's it. Come on, lads, back to the boat, back on the boat.
Come on, boys.
Right, 2 6.
As things turned out, that hedge was the last big obstacle on the moor. Once it was demolished, they heaved the Sarah through. They took her in short, sharp slides through the mud, fearful of her keel.
Well done, Jim. Ready? 2 6.
The replacement wheels weren't perfect, but they were a big improvement on the old ones.
Get the other wheel on.
They'd certainly take the Sarah's weight and would, with luck, last the few remaining miles of the journey.
Got him. I'll do.
Weary as they undoubtedly were, reloading the Sarah seemed easier. Perhaps because they knew that the end of that terrifying journey was now really within reach.
Up a bit. 2 6. Lift it high, lift it high. Higher. Higher. Up, in. Come on. That's it. Down. Hold on there.
By dawn the next day, men and boat looked down on Polveen Bay. Although the skies had cleared, the wind was as high as ever, And outside the cove, the spray was still being stripped from the tops of the waves. They'd taken 12 hours to reach this point. 12 hours that must have seemed a lifetime. No food in all that time, no respite from the wind. But now, all was downhill. Downhill to the beach.
Give a bit, boys, give a bit. Give a bit. You're holding too hard. You're holding too forward. Let it go. That's right, that's right.
There could never have been a stranger cavalcade. A lifeboat and a cart and a band of wild, brave men coming out of the moors and wending their way to the sea. They said afterwards that going down was damn near as bad as going up.
Let her come slowly.
Partway down, the first major accident.
Charlie, pull her back! Pull her back! Charlie, mind you! Chuck, hold it! Hold it!
Be on, Jack. Hold in there, boys.
It could have been much worse. Charlie was lucky. That's if you can call breaking your arm lucky.
Give me your arm, Jack.
Need an arm?
Come on, steady.
Oh, no, Jack, you go on.
It's all right. Get him over there, yeah?
All right, Charlie, go
Come on, on your way. On it, Jack.
He wouldn't go back. Having come so far, he was determined to stay with them till they reached the sea.
All right. I'll be all right, Jack. You boys go on.
Okay, lads. Easy now. Let her go, let her go. Right, hold her back, hold her back. Easy now. Ease off. Ease off a bit. Hold her, steady now. Let her come. Let her come. Hold it. Let her come. Hold her back. Let her come, easy. Let her come. Easy. Let her come. Hold her. Steady, let her come.
Let it go!
The moor, the hill, a whole buffeting night behind them. And now, at last, the challenge that had been with them all the way. The sea itself.
Take him out of it! We're safe!
In the daylight of that morning, after an historic journey, the lifeboat Sarah was finally launched.
Everyone aboard! Right, lads! Forward! Stand by! And pull! Come on, put your backs! Pull! Pull! Pull, you buggers! Pull! And again, pull! Pull! Together, pull! Pull! Come on, lads, get it together! Pull your buggers! And again,
In her time, she was to come alongside a full-rigged merchantman with 15 men aboard, and with a line, take her to safe harbour. Exhausted but jubilant, the men were to return home to their loved ones across a calmer sea.
This story was based on a real event. On the night of January the 12th, 1899, the men of Lynmouth in North Devon took their lifeboat Louisa over the roof of Exmoor to go to the aid of a sailing ship in distress. It was one of the most extraordinary lifeboat launches in history. This film is dedicated not only to those men, but also to their successors, the lifeboat men of Britain, all of whom are prepared to do similarly brave deeds whenever they're called upon to do so.